Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Aswadh Shyma Sajeevan, who is a final year PhD student in University of Nantes in France. He is part of Marie Curie DESTINY program and working on something that affects all of us. How to make lithium batteries more safer, recyclable and sustainable. So let us hear the journey of a final year PhD student in France. Hello Ashwath. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you very much for being here because we know that you're in your final stages of doing your PhD, that is like writing thesis and preparing for defense. And amidst that, you agreed to do the podcast, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Chandana. Thank you for having me on this podcast. As you already know, I'm a PhD in France, and I'm glad to share some experience on my PhD. Thanks.
So, currently, how is the stress? I mean, people say it is one of the toughest phase of a PhD student.
Yeah, I'm about to wrap up, so I have to manage a lot of stuff now. Like I'm parallelly doing experiments, also writing my thesis. But the my whole 3 years was like that, so I'm used to this kind of pressure, especially in France. As you already know, the PhD is 3 years, so it's already under pressure, and we are already used to it, so it's fine.
Do you feel like 3 years is a very short span of time, or do you want it to be like 4 or 5 years is the right kind of?
Yeah, exactly. 3 years is, I feel like 3 years is too short. In France, we have to write and defend within the 3 years. So in that 3 years, you will take approximately some 4 or 5 months for writing. So you have just 2.5 years for doing experiments. And in France, we have almost 46 days of holiday every year. So it's much less period that we have actually have. And in France, we can't work in weekends, and there are a lot of time restrictions. So it's really, really short PhD. Yeah.
But is there an option for you to extend, or like it's like a strict rule that you have to finish within 3 years?
In my case, like I am funded by Marie Curie, it's so for me they will only support for exactly 3 years. And from what I know, it's really hard to extend your contract. It was easier before, but I think there are some recent changes in the regulations, so it's very strict. You have to defend within 3 years. You don't have much flexibility like other European countries, I guess. So here in currently I'm working at Uppsala University in Sweden. Here they have much more flexibility. They have much more time. Their PhD is already 4 years, but they can also get some time for writing. They can also extend beyond 4 years for writing. So that's 3 years is very short, I would say. But if you get some extra, some 5 or 6 months for writing, it will be great. You'll get enough time to comfortably finish everything. Yeah.
The thing is, yours is experimental chemistry, is your
Yeah,
research, right?
I'm working on sustainable batteries. Basically, I am synthesizing some organic materials that can replace current inorganic materials used in batteries. Yeah, my PhD is mostly experimental.
But I think so. For theoreticians, might be 3 years would be sufficient, but as an experimentalist, I think so. It's kind of too much tight schedule to finish within 3 years.
Especially for me, I have a lot of synthesis in my PhD. So in France, we can't work during weekends, and often we'll have some holidays in the weekdays. So if there is some break during our working days, it will be really hard for us to adjust and plan accordingly. Like because some synthesis takes few days and it should be continuous. And if you have some breaks in between, it will be really hard to manage everything.
I mean, like, don't you have the freedom to come whenever you want? Like, if you want to work on weekends, don't you have that option, or are they like very strict?
It's really strict. Like my laboratory is under CNRS. It's kind of CSIR laboratory in India. It's a similar version. So they have very strict rules, like from they would say 9 to 5, but you can extend a little bit from 5 up to 7. After 7, it's really difficult. And by 8, by the night, every door will be locked. You can't get in or out. So you have to really get out of the lab before that. So in France, especially in some laboratories, it's really strict. You don't have the flexibility, and there is no chance you can come during the weekends. Yeah.
What is the reason for the strict
Like it's
culture?
really, I think basically it's based on the safety issues of the workers. Like if something happens when nobody's around the lab, it will be a big problem for them. So I think it's based on the safety regulations. They are strictly following them.
What about all the PhD students who study in France? Like, do they have this strict time bound when they're supposed to work? Let's take some theoreticians, for example.
I mean, for theoreticians, they have much more flexibility. Like they can, I mean, for people doing computational work, they have the freedom to work anywhere, but they can work at home, but not at the laboratory. Yeah, it applies the same. I think for computational people, it's same everywhere. I guess they have a much more degree of flexibility.
Assuming the work culture is more like relaxed and kind of they're preferring you to have your own time, like not work during holidays and weekends and have your own life, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. In France, they really care about the work-life balance. They have a good amount of holidays. They have like for me, like in my laboratory, it's like works actually start from 8:30 and it finishes by 5. I mean, most of the people will leave by 5, and they have a lunch break starting from 12 2, so they have 2 hours of
Okay.
lunch break. That's more relaxed. I think they really care about the work life balance and mental health of people, and they have very good monitoring how people are doing and everything. So yeah, it's pretty much balanced life for people working in France compared to other countries, I guess.
Assuming like the time given for you to work, is it sufficient for all the people in general, or is it like too much of relaxing itself rather than working?
Like for me, my kind of work demands a lot of time. Like since I'm working majorly based on synthesis, it really demands time. I can't reduce the time. Like my work demands much more time. So for me, it's not at all enough. It's really hard to manage. Most of the day, I leave the lab just before 8. So I will start the lab by around 9 and I will be leaving around 8. I mean, it's not the case for everyone. It depends on what you are working on and it's very subjective. But for me, my work demands time. So for me, it's very difficult to manage between this time. I'm also guessing some people working on biological systems also, it will be very difficult for them to follow these time regulations. Yeah. And you
What
have to
about your
really plan your experiments days and weeks before to complete everything on time.
also like what about your colleagues in the lab? Like even they find this constrained or have they got adjusted to this?
I mean, there is nothing you can change the rules, so you have to get used to it and plan things accordingly. It has benefits. I mean, in terms of safety and work-life balance, it's good. But in terms of productivity, it might affect. Like if you put too much constraints, it will be difficult to complete everything within the time frame. So yeah, it has two sides.
So like what's the diversity of your team,
I think
of
in
your
recent
research
years
group?
they are taking a lot more international students. For me in my lab, they have more than 50 international students. That's a lot of now people. If I mean, it was not the case before, as far as I know, but recently they are taking a lot more international students, and it's much more diverse. I know in some labs they have a lot of Indian students, and they have, yeah,
French.
it's much more international now than before, I guess.
So I'm assuming the kind of vibe that is there in the lab and the way your professors handle things, everything is more chill and relaxed.
That really depends on the people. Like some, I know some permanents who are uh, seeing their work more relaxed and chill. But I also know supervisors or permanent staffs who working really hard day and night. Yeah, there are all kind of people in academia, I would say.
How has been your experience with your supervisor?
They are really helpful. My supervisors are very hardworking, so they are available all the time. So they are guiding me very well.
You did your master's in IISER Thiruvananthapuram, and I'm assuming the topics that you did your research is also like based on the topics that you're doing during your PhD.
Yeah, for me, I did a BSMS dual degree in IISER Thiruvananthapuram. So it was a 5-year program, and my major degree was in physics, and my minor degree was in chemistry. And during the last 2 years of my degree, I did proper research in electrochemistry. So I am well aware about the this field, this topic I'm currently working on. But my current PhD topic also involves organic chemistry, which was new for me. And I mean, in my PhD, I'm synthesizing organic materials, but it's for the application in the electrochemistry. I'm well aware, experienced in electrochemistry, but the organic part was it's a huge subject, and it was new for me.
Because you just have like 3 years to finish your PhD, do you think like learning new things will cause a lot of stress because you have to learn, become an expert, and then apply?
Yeah, especially since I am part of this Marie Curie DESTINY program, it's obligatory for me to have many trainings. Like, for example, they have some career development trainings, market intelligence trainings, and also scientific trainings, like, for example, XRD trainings, characterization techniques trainings. They have a lot of trainings, and it's mandatory. And for these trainings, I had to travel many countries in Europe. It will be in different places, for example, Barcelona, Slovenia, yeah, in different places. So actually, for the traveling for these trainings itself takes weeks, and each training will be lasting for 1 week. So it also take a lot of trainings, and we had to also deal with our own subject, which also need much more time on reading literature. And so for during the initial stage of my PhD, I got some time for knowing the subject more. But when I started working more on the experiment, I started getting much lesser time for reading and all. It's really difficult. Yeah.
But this program seems like besides the scientific part, you're also being trained for other things also, right? Like
Yes.
marketing and stuff like that. So when you graduate out of this program, like you have like a lot of extra qualities that you have been
Exactly.
trained for.
That's one very good advantage I find in this specific program. And it's a big community in the electrochemistry. Like in this specific Marie Curie Destiny program, they have 50 PhD students. They selected 50 PhD students around the world for as two batches, and they are guided by top scientists in Europe in this field. And we have collaborations with almost all big industries in this electrochemistry, specifically in battery topic. So it's a huge community, and it's highly collaborative, and it was a very big plus for me to be a part of this program.
How did you apply for this? Like, are there any criterias for getting selected? And
Yeah, yes, it's a program funded by EU, and the selection process was tedious and it was very long. First, we had to submit an application which contains writing essays, our CVs, our mark list, recommendation letters, and after lot of screenings, they will shortlist some people. Then actually we had an interview, a very big interview board, like topmost people in this field interviewed us. Then again shortlisted. Yeah, it was a very lengthy process if I remember well.
I think then having this expertise in the subject prior to applying for this program is necessary, I guess, to get selected.
Yes. It's very important, especially for applying PhD in Europe. You have very short time period, so and you will not get much time for learning a new subject or topic and then starting your research. You don't have time for that. So in Europe, they are looking for people with already experience in this topic, so they can start from the first month kind of thing. Yeah. So while applying for Europe, I think it's a must to have experience in the same topic before.
Now, in order to get your PhD, so do you have this criteria that the number of papers that
I think it's there is no written rule like you must need this many articles to defend, but you should have a approved and very good thesis at the end. But people usually target for at least two articles, I would say.
so I think so you have now traveled many places
Yeah.
for your training
Yes.
because of this program. So like which all countries did you go from work perspective?
I mean, I was very fortunate to be a part of this program, and I was able to travel many countries like Spain, Italy, Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Sweden. Yeah, I was able.
You covered
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah, exactly.
So people who wants to apply for this program, so one main criteria would be to have expertise in this field.
I mean, this particular program was, I think there will be one more second part of this program, but it's not an annual call for the annual thing that people
Okay.
will open positions for this specific program. It's a very dedicated program by Horizon Battery 2030 initiative, and I think they are starting a Destiny 2, a second version, second part of this program soon, maybe next year. Uh, I heard they already got the fundings and everything. Yeah, having research experience in the field is a must, I would say. And I think also the in which lab was our previous experience and the recommendation letters also matters, I guess.
And assuming because now you've studied for like almost 3 years and it's coming to an end, you're kind of happy with whatever work you have done and the experiments that you have conducted.
Yes, for me, I was fortunate to complete every goals of my PhD. I mean, for my PhD, the goals for my thesis was very specific. Like it was really narrowed targets for my PhD, like synthesizing this, implementing this, and achieving this. And I was very fortunate to achieve all these goals, and I'm very happy to defend finally.
So, from what you're saying, I can understand that there is not much freedom to do what you would want to do, but then everything has been like properly structured. Do you think, as a PhD student, when there is like so much of restrictions, is it like kind of a helpful thing you would say, or like a you would want some freedom also to do what you want to do?
Yeah, like it depends on our perspective. Like it's very different from what how a PhD is done in India, US, and Europe. I mean, especially in France, I guess the targets are already set. For me, I really didn't had much freedom to explore out of my targets, out of our goals, because it was very really narrowed down targets. Uh, in one case, if you have very specific targets, your goal is very set, so it will be easy to focus all your efforts on specific things. It's a plus. But at some point, if things didn't work out, for example, what we targeted when writing the proposal is not actually working, then you will get stuck and you will not have much room for exploring other things and making it a good thesis. So there is two sides for this too, I would say.
But like, how did you manage your daily life also along with such intense experiments?
Yeah, it's a big, it's a huge task. Like India, we know at least in IISERs, like PhDs have hostels and they are provided food in the mess, and they don't have to worry about anything. Like they are inside that bubble, and you can just do your research and you can everything is taken care of your institute. But when coming to another country like France, like first from the beginning you had to search, you had to fix everything like administrative procedure, residence permit, bank accounts, and you have to deal with the cultural shock that you will be having and you don't know the language, and you have to manage your house, how to prepare your food and tax and a lot of things you had to manage at the same time. And in India, you can just do your research the whole time. But in France or in Europe in general, I would say, like by like you had to leave the lab at some point, like for just say 7 p.m. Then you had to go back to your home and prepare your own meal, or else you will be starving. There is no option for not cooking or not going for food. So it's much more difficult than doing a PhD in India, I would say. Yeah, it's a lot more.
What were the cultural shocks that you had when you came here?
Like two main things will be language and food for sure. Like French, like the it's very difficult language, I would say. Like maybe compared to German, it will be easy. I'm not sure. But it's really you have to really spend time on learning French. Otherwise, you will not catch up anything. I would say if anybody want to come to France, start learning French before your PhD. Like if you start PhD, you will not get enough time to spend time on learning your language, because I don't think doing Duolingo will help to learn the language. You have to really spend time on learning. So yeah, and another thing is the food. It's the extreme ends, like Indian food and French food. Like Indians need their spices. It's a necessity, and in France people barely use salt and pepper. So initially, for me, for the initial months, it was very difficult to have this food. I mean, I'm not saying the food is bad. Like we are not used to this kind of food, but gradually I started liking the French food too. It's appreciable.
How is the bureaucracy in France? Like, is it very fast or is very slow and rigid?
I mean, I have seen French people complaining about their system. They are not liking it. They say it's very rigid, but I found it's pretty decent. Like it's pretty smooth. Only you have this initial mess that you have to take care of everything, because the main problem is the language. So you have to read everything, apply everything. But once everything is set up, I think it's an automatic system that take care of itself. You don't have to worry much about everything because everything is connected. I would say it's pretty decent. Once everything is set up, it's pretty good. Yeah. In France, most of the things are online, done online. They also have parallel postal service and offline stuff, but I think almost all the services are also online. So it's a pretty good system in France, I would say.
And is it very easy to make French people as your friends in your workplace, or are they like too much in their own bubble, in their own space?
I mean, yeah, there is a big language barrier. I mean, even though they can speak English, I mean, our accent will be a little bit difficult for them to catch up. So, I mean, since there is this language barrier, there is a natural reluctance, or I mean, we can't complain because it's not their fault. Except that in workplaces, they are very friendly, they are very supportive and everything.
So now that you are in your final step of your PhD, like, are there any points that you thought that you could have done some things better, or you could have been maybe more relaxed, or some kind of advices that you have for yourself 3 years ago?
I mean, before coming to France, it was I should have learned French a little bit because my initial few months was very difficult. That would have helped me a lot. And in terms of research, I mean, I completed my dual degree and I directly immediately came to France. I then thought that I could have taken some break and get relaxed, then come to France. Otherwise, everything was very smooth and everything is going well.
So, do they use French itself to speak in the meetings and during the seminars and stuff?
I
Or is it
mean,
English?
for the administrative meetings like general body meetings of the labs institute, it's taking place in French. But otherwise, in science-related meetings, conferences, and everything, it's mostly in English. It's not a big deal.
How does research impacted you on your personality? Like, what are the new traits that you have developed with time?
As I already mentioned, like we are coming to a new country and you are all by yourself, and you are coming to a country where you have no clue, like how people are, what the like, and you don't know the language. So I became more independent. I grew in such a way that I can deal all my stress, and uh, I grown in such a way that I can manage work and life equally. Personality wise, I had a huge growth, and research wise also, I have now a deeper insight on my topic, and I have more confidence in my abilities, and we have PhD itself. It's all about solving problems, and within these 3 years, we are dealing thousands of problems every day, and uh, that help us to grow in terms of a researcher and also a person itself. So it's a very big change happened during these 3 years.
After finishing your PhD, what are your like next plans?
Clearly, I don't want to teach, and I would like to apply my research on real world applications. So the best platform will be R&D roles in industries, and in Europe they have a lot of battery industries, and so my goal is to get into R&D positions in good battery companies in Europe.
Okay, okay. So for our listeners who are preparing themselves to start a PhD, so do you have any advices for them?
Advices, I mean, if you're coming to a country like French or Germany, please try to learn a bit of the language basics. It will help you a lot in terms of your life, and try to network as lot as possible, attend as much conferences, and be open for all collaborations and everything. And for PhD students, I would say don't compare yourself with other people because everyone is dealing with very different stuff, and everyone's goals, problems are really different. So track your own progresses, believe in yourself, and yeah, that will help you a lot.
Thank you. So now, as a last part of our podcast, we have one fun element, which is rapid fire round. So, are you ready? Here goes your question. One place in France every Indian must visit.
It should be Paris, I would say. Yeah,
The most underrated thing about doing a PhD in France.
I'm work-life balance.
If you could describe your PhD journey in just one word, what would it be?
Exciting.
One French word you use the most.
Bonjour.
Your go-to stress buster during PhD.
My friends, yeah, I have a lot of
Which do you prefer, lab experiments or writing papers?
lab experience.
French habit you have unconsciously picked up.
Saying pardon, like it's a sorry.
Yeah. First thing you plan to do after submitting your thesis.
Take a small break, go visit your country.
Here ends our rapid fire round. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a signature question of this podcast series, we have this one question. So, do you ever miss India?
I mean, I miss Indian food and my family. Uh, yeah. Otherwise, I'm well settled.
Assuming you have no plans of going back to India for your work.
Not immediately. I would like to stay in Europe at least for next 5 years. I would like to gain more experience here. Then I will see what's happening in India and what are the opportunities. And I think going just after PhD will be it's not worth going back now.
Also, are there any things that made you feel proud of India after coming to France?
Proud of India. Should be food.
Okay.
Indian food. Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Okay, so that's our podcast. So I hope our listeners are going to benefit a lot from this podcast series. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
In this episode, we delve into the challenges and triumphs of pursuing a PhD in France, exploring the cultural nuances, the rigorous demands of experimental chemistry, and the personal growth that comes with it. Whether you are considering a PhD or simply curious about the life of a researcher, this conversation promises insights and inspiration. Tune in to discover how a researcher navigates the pressures of academia while maintaining a balance between work and life. Thank you all for watching Qubit Monk. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one.